This tutorial is brought to you by Squarespace.com. Hey everyone! When people hear the word Photoshop, most immediately associate it with image editing, and 98% of the time, they'd be correct. However, there are a few features that Adobe included in Photoshop to appeal to a much wider range of customers, such as video editing. In this video, we're going to take a look at how we can create a time-lapse style effect using a still image and stock video. I have to note before I go on, not all versions of Photoshop will have the video editing capabilities. If you're running the extended version of Photoshop, you'll be able to follow along with no issue. The standard version, however, doesn't have the same functionality. In terms of the media that I'm going to be using, the image is just a standard JPEG that I took in Mexico, and the footage of the clouds, which you can see playing here, was downloaded from videocopilot.net. If you want the exact links to the download page, I've posted them over on iceflowstudios.com. Importing video footage into Photoshop works just like it does for images. You can either open them through the File menu, or simply drag them right into Photoshop. Let's focus on the image before we touch the video. In this image, we're going to be replacing the current sky with the clouds footage, so we need to isolate the sky from the rest of the image. This can be done in a variety of ways, but because the sky is fairly uniform, I'm going to grab my magic wand tool, and with the tolerance set to 15, start clicking in the areas that you want selected. Once you make your first selection, make sure to hold down your Shift key to include the other areas that you click. Make sure you include all traces of sky which may be hiding in between fences and such. Any little bit that may be left behind will throw off the whole effect. Good, now that the selection is complete, we need to separate it from the rest of the image. This can be done by copying the selection onto a new layer. Head up to the Layer menu, down to New, and then over to Layer via Copy, or you can use the shortcut key, Command or Control J. Perfect, it's time to bring in our video. Hopping over to the tab that contains our video file, we can simply drag the layer containing our video right over to our document which contains our image. Once it's there, place the video so that it covers the whole entire sky. Once it's in place, in your Layers panel, right-click on the video layer and create a clipping mask. This will place the video of the clouds inside the sky, which we extracted a few moments ago. Good, so now how do we play this thing? We need to bring up our animation panel. This can be done by heading up to Window, and then down to Animation. When the animation panel appears, let's go over a few things which can help in your editing. First, the most obvious is the play button, which can also be triggered by tapping your spacebar. This will play back your video. Now you might have just noticed that our clouds have disappeared. This is because the video file is 5 seconds long, but the duration of the document is set to 10 seconds. To correct this, click on the drop-down menu at the top right corner of your animation panel, choose Document Settings, and change the duration accordingly. I'm going to drop it down to 5 seconds. The next thing we're going to look at is how we can fade our video layer in or out. Beside the video layer in our animation panel, click on the arrow to expand its contents. We want to adjust the opacity. Clicking on the clock icon will add our first keyframe to help us adjust our opacity. When the keyframe is added, set the opacity of the video layer to how you want it to appear when the video starts. In this case, I'm going to start the video with the sky in its clear state, so I'm going to set the opacity at 0%. Now, move your playhead to the point where you want the clouds to be 100% visible. I'm going to set it around 3 seconds. Now, beside the clock, there's an upwards arrow. It might be a little bit difficult to see. This will add an additional keyframe where your playhead is. When the new keyframe is added, set the opacity back up to 100%. Playing back our video, we can now see that the clouds gradually fade into view. It may be a little bit choppy the first time you play it as Photoshop is rendering the video. This also works with adjustment layers. Obviously, if the sky is getting dark and gloomy, we need to adjust our image as well. In your Layers panel, select your background image and then add an adjustment layer. To make things simple, let's add an exposure adjustment. To darken your image a bit, decrease your exposure and then slightly increase your gamma. That should leave you with a slightly darker background image. Now, just like we did for the video player, we need to key the opacity. Expand that layer's contents in the animation panel, add a keyframe at the beginning of the video, and then change the starting opacity to 0%. Now, add the second keyframe at the 3-second mark, and change the opacity back up to 100%. Our video is complete. To save it, instead of going to File and then Save, we want to go down a little bit more to Export and then Render Video. Enter a file name, choose where you want to save it, and then choose your compression method. QuickTime Movie with an H.264 codec usually works quite well. And that's that. I showed you a preview of what Photoshop can do with video. Using your imagination, you guys can do a lot more. If you want to read this tutorial or check out others that I've released, head over to iceflowstudios.com. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, favorite, and comment on the video. Take care.